Hello everybody and welcome back to Victoria, where I've been thinking about how we want to handle this situation that Britain has put us in. Now, I did swap over to Britain and check here, because I was looking to see, is there any way that we can rejoin the British market? Now, you can see I'm not on Britain right now, and I've reloaded the save, so achievements are back to being available. If you switch, achievements are not available. But I did switch over, and I discovered that rejoining the British market has to be initiated by the Overlord. They have an option to do it, we do not. So that is not something that we can do at this time. Now, there are a couple of options, but ultimately, I want to talk a bit about what the actual issue is here. The actual issue is that we don't have enough demand for our high GDP producing goods. That is wood. We are primarily wood exporters. But as you can see here, the price of wood, incredibly low. We are not maxing out these logging camps. We're nowhere even close. If we check, this one is maxed out, but not even close over here. This one, it is, but it's only a 1K. This one, nowhere, it's barely even started. There's one person working there. If we look at this logging camp, 4.5K. So we're pretty heavily focused on logging camps for our primary GDP output. And this was great when we were part of the British market. We're not part of the British market anymore, and there's nothing we can do about that unless Britain revokes that, which is entirely on them. It has nothing to do with us. We can't influence that in any way. So what we need to do at this point is we need to raise demand for wood to start actually producing wood, right? So how do we go about doing that? Well, there are a couple of ways that we can do it. The ideal way would be via export routes. There are no available export routes outside of what we're already doing. We're saturating our good exports, and as you can see, 306 sell orders and 188 buy orders. So that means that what we need to do is we need to increase our domestic demand, specifically of wood. Wood is the major thing that we need to be selling at this point. Iron is kind of a secondary thing for us. We don't produce all that much iron, and the price on it is reasonable. Minus 8% isn't, ideal, but it's fine for the time being. So that means that we need to be boosting demand for wood. Now, that does happen when we unpause our construction. So we know that this 40 wood demand right here, that's worth a lot to our GDP. And the 50 iron is pretty okay too. Now, we could switch over to wooden buildings and have more wood demand and less tool demand. The downside here, of course, is our tools are made out of wood at this time. We can switch over to wrought iron tools or even to steel tools. We don't produce steel. This would be a bad thing. Iron tools, this would boost the price of iron, but it would tank the price of wood. So I think that would probably be counterproductive overall, although that's only 3 less wood and 18 more iron. This is the same amount of wood, actually, here. Hang on. Why is this saying that this would be less wood? Let's give that a go. When I looked at this previously, after seeing the comment that was made on the last video, I was just like, oh, that's less wood. And I didn't look at it that closely. Looking at it a little more closely, this is probably a good call then. That will boost the price of iron significantly, and the price of wood should remain similar, since this is still 30 wood and 30 wood. So that should be reasonably okay. It may be a slight drop in the price of wood, but what we really need at this point is we need to be making a small amount of money. It doesn't have to be much. It just has to be enough to be able to build base consumption of some of these things. The steel mills would be a good start on that. It will consume tools, coal, and iron, and then we'll probably want to build a coal mine to have a domestic source of coal after that. We'll see. I would like to have more wood production. But what I want to do right now in order to drop down our costs, well, first off, we're on market stalls. Okay, never mind. Market squares might not be a bad idea, actually. This would consume a little bit more wood. I don't want to go any further because this is steel, but we can go to this. Now, that would have low productivity for the moment. That's fine. We don't want to go to gas streetlights. We don't produce the coal domestically right now, so that seems okay. Do we want public trams? That would consume a little bit more wood, apparently. So anything to boost the price of wood is good. We'll do that. We might have some issues in Michigan. We'll keep an eye on that for the moment. But what I really want to do, as far as dealing with this financial issue goes, is I want to move to clerical educators, and then I want to move to scholastic education. That's going to be a considerable amount less paper. It's going to be bad for our research. But this brings us to 130, and I'm wondering what the actual number here is, because I don't think this is calculating the change on our paper. So let's give it a week tick and see what that feels like. Well, that's a surplus. It's not much of one, but it's a surplus for the moment. Okay. Good substitution will occur over the next little while, so let's let that happen and see how this shakes out. Now, our standard of living is still a problem. No doubt about it. Okay, so this is saying, what's this about the price of iron currently? Market price on iron is plus 20. Okay, market price on wood is minus 51. So we are attempting to bring up our wood production. We don't have like a furniture factory. Do we? Hang on. Do we have a furniture factory? We might. No, we don't. Okay. This is probably something that we should think about doing to consume a good... What's our current wood surplus? We have a big amount of wood that we can produce, and yes, I'm noticing this here. What's our current wood surplus? That is... I want to go directly to wood. Thank you very much. That's hardwood. Where's regular wood at in here? It's definitely in here somewhere. Here it is. Okay, so as you can see, our sell orders are 661, our buy orders are 639, so we're not producing that much more right now, but this is going to be a thing. Okay, so this is our route here. We're importing wood? Hang on, am I looking at this correctly? We should not be importing wood. If we go to our trade routes here, this is an export route. Yeah, I think that was just showing backwards for some reason. These are all export routes of wood. We do not want to be importing wood. So let's see what happens with this as good substitution continues. Okay, just barely negative at this time. We were briefly slightly positive. Very briefly. Okay, so what else can we think about doing? Well, we do have the option of dropping down our government administrations. So if we go down to administrative clergy, that would help matters as well. So we can try that for the moment, and this is definitely not an ideal position for us to be on, but as a temporary change, it may not be the worst thing in the world. So our GDP is still crappy, but that's not surprising at this moment. We need to be stimulating domestic demand, and in order to do that, we need to be able to run at least a small surplus, right? So the question is, do we want to drop down to simple organization? That would be a significant gain for us, but our bureaucracy would be at -7. That's actually not as bad as I was expecting it to do, but it might get worse as good substitution happens. Let's find out. Now, that is going to reduce the demand for paper. And to that end, an export route of paper is probably worthwhile. Yeah, we can export paper. So we can start exporting paper, and that will raise the demand of paper overall, which is good. That's what we want to do. Okay, so as good substitution happens, yeah, we've got some bureaucracy issues. No doubt about that. Okay, we're running a small surplus. This is good. This is very, very good. So that looks great. At this point, I want to check in on all of these potential exports and see if there are any... Exporting tools is actually a good idea now that we are on iron tools. So let's do that. Fantastic. That's going to hurt our bureaucracy. Understood. But let's see what else we can potentially do for exports here. Yeah, we don't really have any of this that we want to export. But for now, let's let that take effect. It'll take a little bit of time here, and that's absolutely understood. So checking in on our iron mine, yeah, this is fine. But domestic demand is again our core problem. We need to raise domestic demand specifically of wood. So this is used in furniture manufactories, glassworks, tooling workshops, paper mills, synthetics plants, shipyards, urban center, railway, and construction centers, right? So that's absolutely fine. We are not a significant producer of wood, but it's like 80% of our GDP. So it's very important to us, maybe not to the rest of the world, but very important to us. So we need to boost the price of wood significantly. Now, one thing we could do is a consumption tax on wood wouldn't make sense, would it? I don't think so. That's counterproductive, I'm pretty sure. We'd need a lot of authority to do that anyway. And I don't think we want to do that at this time. So let's just continue going for now. I want to get out of this debt. And we'll let the market shake out and see where this is going to sit for the time being. Now, standard of living is absolutely abysmal. There's no doubt about that. We definitely need to work on, but we can certainly start to do that. So how long is it going to take us to build this steel mill? I'm not going to actually build right now, but just checking in here, currently 58 weeks. Okay, noted. So this is fine for the moment. Now, we can theoretically start cutting taxes eventually. I'm going to wait until we're out of debt here, and then we can cut taxes down to perhaps here, although that's kind of borderline at this time. But medium taxes would be a significantly better place for us to be. So let's just wait a bit until we're out of debt. That's only going to be a few more weeks here. So that'll be absolutely fine. And the Bulgarian national movement was very upset. They are getting over it. What are they upset about right now? Is this still passing cultural exclusion? Oh, it's radicalism. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. And we're on cultural erasure here. Can we change that? I wouldn't mind changing that. From base acceptance level is cultural erasure. Okay, yeah. So they actually, the Bulgarians moved up in their cultural rating, and they're very upset about it, apparently. So we'll go into cultures here. We can see our Bulgarian culture here. Yeah, this is, we did move that up. Absolutely. And we would love to go to like multiculturalism. There's no way we can do that at this time. So that's understood. We're going to be coming out of debt here eventually. We're only at 201 right now, which actually surprises me because our GDP is up quite a bit. It's surprising that we're dwindling here. I'm guessing this is going into some government administration wages. I mean, that does make sense. Some subsidies? What are we subsidizing? A maize farm. We should not be doing this, I don't think. Let's check in on this particular maize farm. Yeah, let's not subsidize this at this time. That'll save us some money. What else do we have here that we could potentially do? We've got some welfare payments. I don't mind that. This is 1.17 pounds per week. That's, like, irrelevant. So that sounds absolutely great for now. We are still running a small surplus, and I'm definitely considering cutting taxes once we get the money from this interest. So that'll be okay. We just need to scrimp together a tiny bit of money here. And how are we doing on this investment pool? Oh, that's growing by 1.19k now. That's a significant improvement. Okay. So they're working on privatizing a railway. That would be a really good thing. I'd be happy about that. But that's going to take a while to get that ready to go. They need 200k to do that. So yeah, that's going to take a bit. So that sounds fine for now. We still have a little bit of debt here. And our GDP is not fantastic. So I want to check in on potentially... I'd like to build a coal mine. Does that consume any wood? Hang on. I want to find out. So a coal mine would be consuming tools, which does give some amount of wood consumption. So that would be a good thing. In theory, we would want to build this in Illinois, and I'm going to queue that up after this steel mill. But we definitely want to take a look at some of these export demands. So things are looking relatively fine here. Okay, yeah, things are looking relatively fine on this. I don't think there's too much that we need to do right now. Other than, you know, increase the domestic demand of wood. But that's... High pause menu. That's a matter of time. So that sounds good. We're down to 110 on our balance right now. Our GDP is tanking a little bit. This really has to do mostly with our government administration wages. And I would like to reduce our wages of our government administration, but I don't really think there's any significant way to do that. Although apparently secular administration would currently be better than administrative clergy. Okay, we can hop over to that. And then these would, of course, be significantly negative, which is expected. So that is absolutely fine. We'll see what that does after goods substitution. It's holding firm. Okay, so we're running a very, very small surplus right now. We're going to get out of debt and build up some funds, but tax cuts are very important here. Currently, tobacco is making us about 200. That's enough to keep us afloat. And we can't really afford to cut taxes with this current level of income. What we had before at around 500 would have been enough. So I'm just wondering where that money is going at this point. I think some of it is certainly going into our GDP going down. I think that's where some of that is, for sure. But good substitution has occurred, and we seem to be settling somewhere around here for our balance, which is not as high as I would like it to be. That's for sure. However, we do have this privatization happening slowly, very, very slowly. So that's noted, and we can check in on what we've got going on for our decrees here. So we're currently running a greener grass campaign in Michigan, and we're not actually getting any migration, so we can drop that. That gives us 156 authority. We could put in a consumption tax on something like wine. That would earn, you know, another 25. It's not great, but it would get us a little bit more of a cushion here. Okay. I really want to see our income here come up quite a bit. Income taxes is a big part of this. There's an explosives shortage. So we do have an explosives factory. I would rather not import this. I would rather... Where is this explosives factory located? Michigan. Okay, I would rather people get hired in here because we do have job seekers and we do need qualifications here. But checking in on this explosives factory, yeah, this is going to hire in and that seems okay. This also processes some paper. So that's reason... Yeah, so that's absolutely okay. Domestic demand going up for things like that is good. We want that. Paper demand went up. Again, we produce this domestically, so that's good. We want there to be more demand for paper, but we also, it's a delicate balancing act because a lot of our money is going into paper, right? We did drop down our amount of paper significantly, and that's probably what we're experiencing here is the drop in paper, further reducing the demand for wood. Wood is huge, although I am seeing that this logging camp, they're firing people. And they're a shortage of transportation right now. But I mean, yeah, this is fine for the moment. We're creeping up towards 600k, we're growing into this, and there we go. That's back up to a decent number there. I'm okay with this. Cool. So that's looking reasonably fine. We're going to be out of debt here in about 2 weeks, at which point I am going to look to start cutting taxes because I want to get those unrealized taxes. Once we are out of debt, getting the unrealized taxes will be more valuable to us than the taxes that we're not getting right now. Hang on. Large numbers of Algonquin people are emigrating from our country to Rift Valley. Hopefully that's not too bad. We'll see how large those numbers are. So we have a mass emigration here. That's bad, but we will see. There's not too much we can do about it. Okay, we are officially out of debt now. So I want to cut taxes down to this level for the moment. A tax cut here will be useful, and we did definitely see our population drop a bit there. But a tax cut will be useful. We're going to raise our standard of living somewhat there, and we're going to build up a little bit of money. Now, we are going to have this privatization happen eventually, but that's going to take some time. No doubt about that. Modernization movement is organizing in Indiana. The modernization movement is fine. currently a paper shortage. We produce paper, so this should be hiring in at this point. I think they hired one person. Okay, excellent. So that should be reasonably okay. I'm not too concerned about that one. So we're out of debt at this point. The tax cut means that our standard of living will start to go up. I want to cut taxes further, and I think we are going to cut taxes further once we get this privatization for sure. At that point, I would feel comfortable with taking us down to 0 taxes and ditching both consumption taxes. And I think that would be a very valuable thing. We're in a much better situation now, though. Our standard of living has risen, and we can see our population is it still dropping at this point? I'm not sure if that mass immigration is over or not. That tax cut may have helped. Looks like we're going up now. Let's check into our states here. Weekly migration minus 46, minus 995. Okay, we are definitely still having the mass migration. So that's understood. As our standard of living increases, that should help matters. So that looks fine for now, and I'm hoping that, yeah, we're definitely seeing our radicals ticking downward, so that should mean that we're getting more of these unrealized taxes. That'll be very good. Very, very good. As that happens, we'll be able to continually lower taxes. We're actually almost to the point where we can go down to low taxes right now, and that would be really good. What's our legitimacy at? 76. So this isn't going to raise us up to righteous government, but it's definitely going to be a good step. Cool. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Fantastic. So we're going to be able to raise those production methods back up later, but for right now, our primary goal is getting our standard of living back up. That's going to help the migration, which here you can see drop to 0. Still 751 here, and still 534 here. So we're still working on that, but it's looking better. The mass immigration is definitely poorly timed, but we're making good progress on that. So at this point, what would this be? 257 to go down to very low taxes, and then we'll think about dropping our consumption taxes. Although the consumption tax on wine is probably acceptable to get rid of right now. That sounds good. And then I want to check in on perhaps, let's see, what's our GDP of these various locations? Okay, so Illinois would be the location to do. But the logging camp has basically no jobs here. It's the tobacco plantation that's buoying the GDP in Illinois. So we should probably encourage the agriculture industry there to boost its throughput. Okay, that would also mean, of course, that we're kind of flooding the market with tobacco. But we can export some to the Confederates. That sounds good. So let's do that, and now we can cut our taxes down. Yes, this timing is correct at this point. So this is looking absolutely great. Beautiful. That's going to raise our standard of living significantly. Still a bad weekly migration in Minnesota, but that will likely change soon. Michigan is getting slightly better. Okay. And now if we wanted to drop our consumption tax, how much would that be? 0.16, so 160. We're close to being able to do that. So looking at our radicalism, it's slowly going down. It's got a ways to go. And there's also this external migration, right? And that's painful, to be sure. Absolutely to be sure, but we'll get there. I'm going to drop this consumption tax. We're still very slightly positive at this point. Actually, we dipped negative there, but we do have gold reserves. I'm going to hold here for the moment. We can run a small deficit for a little bit. Raising the standard of living is far more important. This is because we have a shortage of paper at this time. This is probably due to people emigrating from our paper mills. We need people to work, right? So this mass migration could cause us a significant issue. Hopefully it stops soon. And I think it will. Our standard of living is going up significantly. So that looks good for now. It's mostly just the upper strata that's angry at this point. So that looks fine. We're back to running a very, 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 very small surplus. This is going to fluctuate back and forth between being a surplus and a deficit, and I'm completely okay with that. For right now, we've got gold reserves. We're not paying interest, And our economy is definitely on an upswing right now, but we need to be able to get some investments going. So the next major milestone is going to be the privatization of this railway in Illinois. Once that finishes, we should be able to start constructing, at least for a little while, and start raising domestic demand for some of our products. Because we can't produce, well, we don't have enough demand domestically to maximally produce, right? So if we check in here, we can see 16.2k peasants. We're definitely a little bit upset about the mass emigration. It was right before things were about to start getting better too, but it's okay. So hopefully things will get better here. And yeah, that's the annual projected migration. And actually this just dropped to 0. Still 1.3 in Michigan, which is not great, of course. Hopefully this will drop to 0 soon as well, as things continue to improve. Okay, so I think we got this under control at this point. Our economy is, I think, in a reasonable state right now. It's nowhere near where it needs to be. To be clear, where we want to be is still within the British market, but we can make this work, and that will be absolutely fine. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we are going to continue to work on getting our economy a little bit better situated. Things are looking up, though. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.